For nearly a decade, Horacio Pagani has been preparing to replace one of the first hypercars. His response is the Huayra, a machine that can blast from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.2 seconds, thanks to an AMG V12 engine. The 730 horsepower V12 is bolted to the Huayra's monocoque chassis during rear sub-assembly installation. There's no clock ticking or rush to get the job done. Each piece is hand-fitted and then refitted until it's perfect. Even though putting the Huayra together is a slow and methodical process, shifting the machine is not. The transmission switches gears in 60 milliseconds, half the time it would take light to travel around the Earth's equator.
The Huayra has a 7-speed, single-clutch automated manual. Basically, it's a manual that is mechanized and robotized, and it comes from the same company that builds Formula One gearboxes.
Unlike many high-end supercars, the Huayra doesn't use a double-clutch transmission.
The official company line is that a dual-clutch unit would have been too heavy.
When Pagani engineers first study their transmission options, they discover that a dual-clutch transmission adds 70 kilograms to the machine, almost double the single-clutch transmission's weight.
It's a single clutch, and that means rough shifts. You could probably argue that getting beat up a little bit inside the car is what it's about.
The team shaves weight on another piece of the drivetrain as well, the titanium handmade exhaust. It weighs a mere 10 kilograms.
And you see that exhaust and it wraps around and it comes into these really special mufflers. You don't see these mufflers on regular cars. These look like motorcycle mufflers.
The exhaust is handmade and yet another piece of metal artwork. While work continues on both ends of the machine, other craftsmen focus on the interior. Where the Huayra's aeronautical inspiration is immediately apparent.
When you're inside the car, all the switches are big toggle switches, and you feel like you're in the cockpit of a jet flipping some missile defense or something.
One of the key elements is the openly exposed shifter.
The details in the Huayra are almost like an animal anatomy lesson. He's pulled away all the fat, he's pulled away all the muscle, and you just see the sinews, and that's what you see in the shifter.
The sculptural shifter unit features 60 individual components, and each is on display.
You see all these parts that you'd never ever see in a normal car because they're covered by a console, which is covered by leather. He stripped all of that away, and you see the bare mechanism, which is just beautiful.
Even the switchgear is unique looking.
The gas pedal is beautiful, and the linkage that it moves, nothing you'd ever see anywhere else.
The switchgear imitates clarinet keys. It's just obsessive, really.
Honestly, this cabin is pure concept car. This should never be in a real car because it's too beautiful. The most expensive, best cars in the world are never like this, where every single piece is a piece of art.
The analog instrument gauges are a focal point. Each dial is handcrafted just 35 kilometers away in Bologna, Italy.
The gauge cluster is something that looks like it was made by, like, Rolex.
The fact that the gauges look like a watch face is no accident. They actually are. Chronograph manufacturer Patek Philippe uses it to make watch faces. A set of 4 gauges costs nearly 7,100 euros.
The gauges, they've got a very retro aircraft kind of look, you know, stuff that was functional 70 years ago, but today just looks really cool.
The details in the dashboard are equaled by the distinctiveness of the Huayra's key.
I mean, look at that. It's a billet aluminum piece of gorgeous art with an unlock and lock button on it. Pull it apart, that's the part of the key you shove in.
Horacio Pagani's obsession with weight reduction can be seen in each and every part of the Huayra, even the stereo speakers. The units are built by Sonos Faber, a famed audiophile company located near Vicenza, Italy. The company's name loosely translates to handmade sound. A pair of their household speakers costs up to 157,000 euros.
The main challenge in the Pagani was to stay within a certain amount of weight, because of course you have an extreme high performance car, and the performance is about the ratio between the total weight and the power of the engine.
The Faber system features 1,200 watts of power, which is roughly 4 times the power in an ordinary home stereo.
The techniques we use for the Huayra is something unique to reproduce. We wanted to achieve the maximum possible quality. The task was the weight.
To remove weight, the team focuses on using carbon fiber materials, just like the Huayra's monocoque frame.
We are using carbon fiber for the cone. It's a special sandwich of material, and we use it for the rigidity and for the weight, of course. We started from a blank sheet of paper and designed all the parts inside to match perfectly with the door.
Those doors are as eye-catching as any in the hypercar universe.
You pull up anywhere in a DeLorean or a Gullwing or a Pagani, and you open the doors and traffic stops.
Inside the final assembly facility, each gull-wing door is carefully installed, bolt by bolt.
If you're gonna do a parlor trick like gull-wing doors, a supercar or hypercar is the best place to do it, because there is no such thing as kitschy or gaudy when it comes to these cars. The more over the top, the better. And frankly, gull-wing doors are about as over the top as it gets.
After 3 months of nearly fanatical attention to detail, a brand new Huayra is finally ready for the real world.
Pagani is a craftsman, and everything he builds is so detailed. Every little part, you get the feeling that somebody really thought about it and stressed over it and put their life into. It's kind of priceless, and here you have something you can drive.
Nearly half of all Huayras will eventually end up in Asia. Another 30% are destined for the United States. Yet no matter which country a machine calls home, there's only one place a Huayra is meant to be.
Basically, this is a street-going Le Mans prototype. It's got active aero on it. It's got 4 ailerons, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, that react to what the car's doing.
The Huayra's active aero system helps keep it glued to the ground.
The idea behind the ailerons is simple. If the flaps go up, they use the wind to push the car down.
The system kicks in between 100 and 280 kilometers per hour to stabilize the car.
Over 50 miles an hour to stabilize the car and to create a little bit of downforce. All 4 come up about 10 degrees.
In the corners, the flaps deploy to keep the car planted in the turn.
When you're going into corners, they can pop up to 20 just to push down on the car and help it turn.
During heavy braking, the system activates again, this time to generate additional braking force.
And under braking, they pop up to 40 degrees as kind of a parachute.
The Huayra's active aerodynamics package gets the attention, but the machine's power-to-weight ratio is even more impressive.
In terms of power to weight, there's no question the Huayra is at the top of its game. There are very few cars that have this much power, this little weight, and are ultimately this fast.
The Huayra weighs a mere 1,350 kilograms.
The Huayra isn't a heavy car. It's 3,200 pounds, and it's got this huge 6-liter Mercedes V12. It's not light either, and the Huayra still manages to weigh 3,200 pounds, basically because it's all carbon fiber.
Pagani's obsession with weight reduction pays off. The Huayra is an astounding 590 kilograms lighter than a Bugatti Veyron.
Yeah, 3,200 pounds isn't a lot. It's basically a little bit heavier than something like a Volkswagen Jetta, like a typical 4-door economy car. And this car has 720 horsepower and weighs that much.
Driving the Huayra is a high-speed, artistic experience, unlike any other.
If there's anything the Italians do better, it's theater. The doors fly open. There are ailerons when you hit the brakes. The car opens up like a clamshell. It's there to say, look at me.
It's a very fast and dramatic performance.
The acceleration is smooth, like when you're sitting on the runway in a jet and they hammer it for takeoff.
The astonishing acceleration has a unique sound, too.
The soundtrack is not like you're used to. You expect a big, loud, thundering exhaust, but this is really like sitting on top of a jet engine.
A jet engine with roots in the highest levels of automotive racing.
You've got a lot of race technology in here. Single clutch, automated gearbox, carbon ceramic brakes, something that F1 uses in a different form.
The racing-inspired tech catapults the machine to a nearly unheard of 372 km/h top speed. Yet the Huayra's speed blasts right past its scarcity.
I've probably driven 2,000 cars in the last couple of years. And I never even thought I'd see a Pagani in person. That's how rare this car is.
I've worked in the industry for 14 years, and I'd never driven a Huayra until today. The only other Pagani I've ever seen was at the Geneva show when they introduced the Huayra a few years ago.
This isn't just a fast car. It's an experience.
That experience starts with a base price of 850,000 euros, has 730 horsepower, and can hit a top speed of 372 km/h.
There's actually a couple of design elements that I think will become really Pagani icons that you're going to see. The 4 exhaust pipes, the 4 headlights, and something else that's really neat is the side view mirrors.
Part sculpture and part jet fighter, and a machine destined to inspire the next generation of automotive enthusiasts.
The world's most perfect woman, where every angle and everything is just art and perfect, and everything she wears is perfect, whether she's wearing it or it's on the floor.
It's a machine that is a testament to one man's vision for automotive perfection.
There's definitely some ego to it, but you know what? The guy started his own supercar company. That's not something that happens every day. Horacio Pagani not only built a supercar, he built a hypercar, one of the most expensive in the world, one of the most finely detailed in the world, and he made a successful business out of it. When you pull off that kind of success, you've kind of earned it.